Hello. Oh my God, it's been a very long time since I've done one of these. I'm very sorry. Uh I mean right out the gate, I'm doing these alone. This is the commentary for the Tokusatsu Girls video and for the Pokemon Spaces Places, whatever I called that video. Um uh Sorry, I got a Backblaze notification. Yeah, I'm doing most of these solo now, unless I'm working very directly with another person for the video. The creepypasta one that should be out at the same time, maybe a week later. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. We'll have May on it because she and I worked on that video together. The DigiCarrot video that I've alluded to multiple times will be recorded. The Q&A for that will be recorded with Alyssa. I will say, for this Q&A here, I'm trying something a little bit different out. My hand was partially forced a little bit, and I'm sure that you can understand this. Um, Patreon has reformatted their post the like comments on posts. So now you can't copy and paste somebody's username uh, when you're copying their message. And I'm sorry to say, but the additional work that it would take for me to gather these questions, because I don't just read the questions in full, I do try to cut right to the question because it's embarrassing to read flattering things about me out loud. Um, the amount of time it would add for me to also copy over those usernames, um, it just doesn't add up. I'm sorry. I figure that for some people, it will probably be kind of a boon to not have your name read out if, like me, you're very shy. But I don't want to be too prescriptive about that. So if you hate this, you can let me know. Furthermore, um, I'm only going to answer the questions that I think I have an interesting answer to, um, because it's not as fun to use. Um, uh, I know that I will not be able to use myself as a springboard the same way that I am able to when I'm bouncing off of somebody else. So there are a lot of questions that I've either answered before or that don't really go anywhere beyond a yes or a no that I don't feel will make for entertaining listening. This time. Nothing to do with the questions. Most of the time, it's just that I know my answer won't be very interesting. So, hopefully, that's all right. Please let me know what you think of these changes, and we'll see how we commence. So, I immediately almost coughed. You mentioned in this video the idea that shorter runtimes in this medium means you can pack more punch into the time you do have. And I was wondering if you structured your script here intentionally in a similar way. I felt like I was absorbing a very dense amount of information just to see that I was only 4 minutes in at a time. Um, well, thank you very much. Being efficient is important to me, both because pragmatically, the more words that I have in a script, the more time it takes both to edit and to watch. And I know that view time is very important, or at least it was at some point, to the broader algorithm. But I can tell you that if absolutely nothing else, I feel like it does give my videos a kind of rewatchability to them that it sounds like people really appreciate. I know for me, the creators that I really like that make the most like densely packed videos are the ones that I want to go back to the most, just to kind of reconfirm what I learned from them. And also just to kind of marvel at how good they are at condensing information down. I think that is one of those things that unfortunately is kind of harder to learn if you either did not pursue a higher education, or I guess just get really lucky with like a very thorough high school course, whatever, or if you didn't pay very, very close attention to the way the nonfiction books you read are structured. I find it almost exhausting to read certain nonfiction books sometimes because they are so dense with information that it feels like my brain hits like a cap on it. I think I might have talked about that before in a slightly different sense. But yeah, that's what I like in a video. So that's what I tried to do. Also, because I have a weird complex about kind of taking up more people's time than is absolutely necessary. Okay, next question. I was really noticing how your style has evolved. I'm wondering how you feel you're creatively and whoops. I was really noticing how your style has evolved. I'm wondering how you feel like your creativity and inspiration has changed. After writing so much about media, do you feel like you experience art differently? I think absolutely. I mean, obviously, I'm recording this a year removed from these videos, so I feel like this evolution has taken a shape that ideally will be additionally clear with what I'm going to be putting out from here on out. I feel like the truth of it is I am less impressed by things now that I've kind of seen enough of a breadth of them to kind of recognize what is actually just a part of certain artistic languages, so to speak, like filmic language especially. But to still be sort of thrilled to see those things pop up. I think it was easy for me to want to ascribe a lot of very, like a lot of ingenuity to the kind of clever stuff that I was seeing in movies, especially very low budget ones. But I came to feel like that was maybe a little bit condescending to be like, wow, look at them. They really tried, despite the fact that they have no money. So yeah, I don't know. I've seen 1,000 lens flares in my day. I feel like I still love the effect, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to draw a bunch of attention to as something very flashy and unique. I will still draw attention to them though, because I think they're fun. Additionally, I feel like I have just learned to take this stuff less seriously in a way that I feel like has allowed me to, and I guess this is sort of on the same track as the other thing I was saying, that taking these things really seriously can almost, either make you harsher on them or just kind of feel like more like invested in a way that makes it harder to really enjoy that stuff, I guess, at least for me. But I think that's also just kind of a trend that I have generally speaking. So I think on that, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is to recognize more of my kind of writing pitfalls. As I've been doing more of these like spotlights for Scarecrow, I write those in a totally different voice from how I write video scripts, because number one, they're not being narrated. And number two, they need to have a slightly more detached perspective. And in addition to that, I do go through an editing pass with the person that I work on these with. So I think having somebody actually edit my work, which is not something I've ever asked anybody to do because my videos are all too long, has basically inspired me to take a more critical eye to my own writing beyond looking at the veracity of my claims. Is this true? Yes or no? Is kind of where that stuff stopped for a long time. And I feel like, especially with the stuff that's coming out now, but I feel like maybe some of my most recent videos from last year are still representative of this, at least in part. I'm just not, like, I feel like I just don't speak in hyperbole as much anymore. I feel like there are a lot of kind of very funny like ways of phrasing things and kind of like stances to take on some of this stuff that I just don't think I would now. And I think that the kind of the things that I take away from a piece of media and want to write about has changed very much. Excuse me. Recording, it's giving me hiccups. Full of air. I'm sorry. Next question. Was wondering how you put yourself on that old Panasonic TV. Did you just videotape yourself first and then play the hard copy tape on a VHS player and then just dub the audio later on? So what I did was, I was recording audio from my computer, running my microphone through an interface. And I was running my camera, the Sony DSR PD-150. I was cameras of that era, and honestly most handycams especially, but just like cameras in general, I think, have display output. So I was displaying into that TV via an S video cable that was connected between the camera and the TV. So I had those running at the same time. I was running the video to tape, or I was either running it to tape or simultaneously, and I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here. This camera, and again, a lot of mini DV cameras, have FireWire outputs, so a daisy chain of 3 different dongles basically allows me to, by having the camera plugged into my laptop, I can rip the stream of information that it is sending out of that FireWire port as it's coming through. And that allows me to not have to record to tape. I think I did that for this video. If I didn't, that's how I plan to do it going forward for anything shot in my space, because it is so much cheaper. Mini DV tapes aren't cheap, and I like keeping backups of everything. I don't want to start writing over anything that I've already written onto. So that's kind of the ideal for me. And then or no, wait, I actually, I'm sorry. I think I'm getting this mixed up for the Pokemon video. I think I did that for the Pokemon video. Because I'm now remembering that I never cut to the direct feed. It's just to the CRT, which I was just shooting with a modern 4K Sony Handycam. I used DSLRs for a long time. I never liked how it looked for a second. I don't like working with DSLRs. So this video was kind of a breakthrough for me on both fronts. Oh, and then I just synced up the audio and video in post. When discussing things for videos, or maybe when giving recommendations to others, how do you factor in or address nostalgia? I think I'm pretty objective in kind of, I mean, I've talked about this before, but kind of recognizing that there's no such thing as objectivity when it comes to art and opinions on them. And so therein, I think like there's a common agreement that I try to establish when giving recommendations, in videos or otherwise, that my experience with it is probably very, very stratified, either into a paradigm that exists already, be it nostalgia or, like a predisposition to liking certain kinds of stories or whatever. I try to establish a pretense of understanding that I don't expect the person I'm talking about this thing to have the same kind of reaction to me, unless I know their taste very well or feel like I know a way to convey to a broader audience, like what kind of person, very vaguely, deliberately vaguely defined, you need to be in order to, or you might need to be, if you want to check this out, or I guess vice versa. If you're this kind of person, I'm a little bit more inclined to tell you to go seek the thing out. Unless it's something that's just kind of like, it's got a broad appeal. I also think that nostalgia, like everything in the modern internet, is so image driven that I don't think that nostalgia plays out the same way it did maybe even 10 years ago. Because we are identifying less individual pieces of media and more traits, that make up those aesthetics. I think that nostalgia doesn't complicate things the way that it used to. Um, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to take the definition of nostalgia from a couple different angles here. Hopefully that answers your question. What the fuck is Penis Busters 2? It returned literally 0 results on Google. It's just something a friend of mine said once. Instead of Ghostbusters, Penis Busters. Don't worry about it. The word penis is very funny. Just want to ask how you're doing. How's Seattle? How are you holding up? You eating okay, etc. Grandma questions. Wander just sneezed in the background. How you doing, my guy? You're just standing in my doorway. Come here. Come hang out. Okay, that's enough of that. He doesn't fucking care. I'm sorry. Let's continue. Grandma questions is a very, very cute way to phrase that, and these are cute questions. I'm okay. I'm good. Right now, it is August 28th, and I'm very stressed out about everything that I want to get done before I'm before these deadlines I've set for myself arrive. Life keeps throwing curveballs at me that keep distracting me, excuse me, from getting work done. From getting as much work done as I like, I'll say. Obviously take in mind I'm a workaholic, so that does kind of factor in to my definition. But yeah, there's a lot I want to get done, and the clock is ticking. So aside from that, though, I'm good. I'm really proud of the work I'm doing right now, and I'm excited to share it. Seattle's great. Obviously my sister May lives here now, and that's really amazing. I'm really excited to have my schedule free up enough that I can find more ways to make use of this space that I'm in, that May and I in particular are in. I'm eating good, I would say. I started eating meat again, full disclosure. Vegetarian Hazel, I gotta say, if you catch me saying never, slap me upside the head. I've undergone a lot of changes that feel really good for me that also felt inconceivable even a year ago, we'll say. I don't think this is especially interesting to other people, but I started eating meat again because I have had some fucked up dietary stuff going on in the opposite direction that made me go vegetarian initially. I have enough people in my life, in my immediate circle, that have dietary restrictions that, quite frankly, it just makes me too much of a pain to also have to account for. So yeah. I don't eat it very often still, but it's on the table now. I forgot how much I like fish, how much I like eating fish, and I'm in a good place to do that. So, yeah. Thanks for calling, Grandma. I'm really glad to hear from you. What's your favorite Japanese horror movie? That's not a question for Grandma. That's a question for me. This actually made me realize that I feel like, as far as the standard definition of Japanese horror movie is concerned, I haven't seen as many of them as I thought. Or like a lot of them are kind of just like V cinema toss-offs that don't necessarily feel like definitive answers. So like right off the bat, I want to say Ju-on and I want to say Noroi the Curse. Specifically Ju-on, it's like a tie between the V Cinema one and the theatrical one, the Japanese theatrical one. I love the way that Ju-on is almost structured like a roller coaster ride, or like a really well played game of baseball or something. It's just very well constructed to entertain you. Whereas Noroi, I think, is a much more effective scary film that has more interesting things to say. But it's just kind of a different thing. I find myself in the mood for Ju-on very frequently because those movies feel very unique to me and I like them very much. So I feel like I should say that, even though it feels safe. If you had to choose just one, which of the films from this batch would you recommend someone dip into? I feel like I might have said this in the video, but I think I would still say Mighty Lady. If you are somebody that really likes seeing how things are made, who really likes works that are about making things, Jiko-chan is adorable. I still think about it very often. And beyond that, if you wanted just one AU Club recommendation, I would say Red Lilac is my favorite. I think that Taimon, the crossover film, probably is the most enticing if you're there for fun, like, girl fights, basically. But I'm all about that uncanny factor, that sort of cute uncanny factor I talked about. So Red Lilac is that all the way for me. I saw that you were working on soundtracking. Has writing music for an OST sent you down a rabbit hole of analyzing how other composers write music for original soundtracks or listening to new music? In my own experience, I find that writing music for a piece of art that calls for something specific can sometimes be more difficult than pulling from current inspirations and personal emotions for your own music. Well, first and foremost, the soundtracking that you're referring to are the vocal character themes for Alyssa's game Love in a Bottle. And not only are she and I, and sometimes a couple other musicians, working on those songs together, which gives some additional structure, like some additional guidance. I find that working with a prompt is very helpful for me, working with any sort of springboard. So Alyssa would bring me something and say, like, hey, I really want a song that sounds like a 2000s Eroge opening. And, you know, she sent me a couple links. I found a couple that I really like. Or rather, I dug up a couple that I knew I really liked. And I sort of skimmed through them. I sort of took note of some of their sounds, and then sounds and conventions, and then I tried to build something a little different, just kind of based on how it came out and what I had access to. So I really, I took music commissions for a long time, and I like getting a prompt. In fact, I think that had been my primary way of writing for a while. And so when writing my own personal music came to me very slowly and uncomfortably, I still didn't have any trouble going off of a prompt. So yeah, but prompts were difficult to make for myself for some reason. I am somebody that just does really benefit from having sort of arbitrarily or otherwise imposed deadlines. I really like a deadline. Sorry, fuck me, not deadline. God damn it. Limitations, arbitrarily or otherwise. I like imposed limitations. I think I've talked about this before, but my EP, Touched or Been Touched By, now I can hear Wander using his litter box. That's crazy, bro. My EP, Touched or Been Touched By, is it was recorded when I had a terrible finger injury. I could not use my index finger, so all of those songs had to be written with my my middle finger, my ring finger, and my pinky. So yeah, that was sort of like it got me to play guitar in a new way. And I feel like that's just kind of my experience with limitation in general. I feel like I sometimes need a framework in order to think creatively. I feel like I'm not always good at just coming up with something on the spot, which is why I'm not good at answering some of these questions. So I apologize about that. It's something I try to get better at. As a busy bleh, as a busy person who also takes a deliberate approach to media consumption, how do you balance the need to not let your interests stagnate with the need to ensure that whatever free time you have isn't wasted? Just do what you want. Do what feels good. If you feel like you're understimulated or not being challenged enough by the work that you're experiencing, and you're really yearning to be challenged, seek that stuff out. Even if it feels uncomfortable, that's kind of part of the point. But if you're feeling an obligation, like especially a social obligation, don't worry about it. You don't have to be really invested in this stuff beyond learning about it. I think that's kind of an important part of my job, is kind of allowing people to delineate for themselves whether or not they want to leave their understanding of this thing at my video or not. That's why it always bums me out that so few people check the description of the sources. But again, if they don't want to pursue a deeper knowledge of the subject than what I gave them, I think that's okay. I find myself taking less of a deliberate approach to media consumption because I kind of just don't have to anymore. I feel like I've kind of hit up all of the basics that I want, and I feel like I have, for now, I mean, and I feel like I have, really, I don't know, just kind of strayed away from a sense of obligation toward things for historical, meaningfulness outside of what is drawing me immediately. I think that I do just kind of gravitate more toward things like that now, and so it's not quite as conscious a decision. I'm watching the 1960s Dororo right now. 1969? 68? If it's 70, I apologize. And it feels very edifying. I'm glad to be watching it. It's got some early episodes by Yoshiyuki Tomino and I think Osamu Dezaki, if I'm not getting twisted and confused. And it's amazing. It feels elucidating, but it's also just really fucking good, and it's a good way to spend time with a close friend of mine. So having somebody to watch stuff with or read stuff with even, I think, does help. If you feel frustrated that you can't experience things that you think you should really like, I would say that that's the imperative reason to take this sort of thing into consideration. Since you mentioned Mega Man Battle Network, what is your favorite Battle Network game, and what would be your favorite Net Navi design? It's very boring, but I'm a roll girl. My favorite NPC is what's her name? Rabida, the frog announcer girl. I think she's adorable. Favorite Battle Network game is 3. I played White as a child, and I really loved it. I spent a lot of time in it. That was one of those games that I sunk enough time into to really explore a lot of its kind of like weirder or more obscure elements. And I don't know, I really feel very fondly for those games, but going back to them, it just never feels worth the time. I've played little bits of, I think, all of the other ones. I think I might have even beat, what is it, Red Sun? The 4th one? Red Sun and Blue Moon. I finished one of those as a child. I remember thinking, wow, that was kind of short, and kind of not understanding you're supposed to replay it to get the other like tournament brackets. And I liked 6 a lot. It made me sad that Mail and Roll weren't in it. But that game's got a weird vibe, a weird kind of like isolated kind of feeling to it that I like. I was wondering what mic you use and what helps you do the YouTuber voice. I'm working on a video right now and really struggling to get a conversational cadence. Also, what Toku monster is your favorite? Thank you. I'm a Pigmon girl, personally. I love Pigmon. I love Pigmon, and I love Hetera. Hetera is an obvious example, or an obvious pull, rather. I'm gonna close my door. Wander's litter smells kind of bad, and I will scoop it when we're done here. Mothra is another really obvious one, but I feel like I gotta shout out Mothra. Um, as for the meat of the question, what helps you do the YouTuber voice? It's kind of second nature. I actually find it kind of frustrating that no matter what I try, a lot of my narration does come out just like the way it's going to. I've been trying to strike an even more conversational tone lately. I'm trying to kind of have that sort of quality that you've sort of barged into my room and are sitting on my bed while I kind of at the foot of my bed, normal style, as I sort of explain to you something that I was watching or looking at or whatever. Um, and I feel like I don't want to pigeonhole myself in that kind of like frantic, neurotic vibe that I think I kind of put off. Mostly just because I don't want that to actually be true about myself, even though I know it is. So we'll see where that goes from the future. It's pretty natural at this point. I honestly feel like I just did it enough and worked with my audio enough because I process it all, do a lot of very intensive editing on it to kind of understand implicitly the cadence with which I deliver things. I try to be really consistent in how I deliver things because if I need to splice something through mid-sentence, if say I took two takes and one of them falters in the front half and the other falters in the back, I need to make sure that I'm saying a lot of that stuff the same way so that I've got basically an anchor point to split between them. As far as the microphone I use, I kind of almost don't even want to tell you because I don't want you to feel like that is an obligation to having good audio. But up until this point, I've used an MXL 990 plugged into a Steinberg monitor. I am on my second of both of those. They both lasted me a very long time. They're my ride or dies. So for every video that you saw when you asked that question, that was the case. I have since introduced an art preamp. Oh my god, I'm sorry. The arms on this chair just suddenly buckled. An art preamp, a tube preamp, and a rack compressor that I got from Seattle's Trading Musician before they closed down. I'm still, and also I'm running everything through a mixer now because I've got a lot of physical music hardware that it's nice to be able to switch freely from without having to fucking play the cable game for 8 hours. I'm still figuring that stuff out, and I honestly would not recommend having any of these fucking bells and whistles. Just start with the microphone and the interface, or use a fucking Blue Yeti, honestly, or a Snowball or whatever. Maybe not the Snowball, but the Blue Yeti to me is passable. While you're feeling it out, like, audio should not be something that precludes you or makes you feel precluded from making a YouTube video. How do you find and keep track of your sources? That is finding them is honestly just kind of it's very disparate. It changes every time. I have a couple of anchor points that I try to go back to when I'm struggling to find sources or struggling to find springboards for those sources, or for learning something about something I'm covering. Yeah, I mean, like, as I accumulate more and more books, I do find that I do just kind of know, like, oh, I'm working on a video right now about some Japanese horror movies. I've got a book about Japanese horror that I should pull off the shelf and see if it comes up. Usually what that actually means is downloading a PDF illegally of a book that I own legally, and then hitting Control F or whatever, and searching for the name of the thing I'm looking for. In the video that I just put out, you just saw the video. You don't need me to fucking explain it to you. Or maybe you haven't yet. This is about the tokusatsu video. I love this video very much, can I just say. A year removed, I'm still very proud of this video. I love the subject matter. And I feel like I did justice to those subjects as somebody who's not an expert on them. Recently, outside of Scarecrow video, I was stopped by somebody that had seen that video, and that was why they were at Scarecrow. Probably not their first time, but like, that was how they decided to go to it for the first time, and that made me very, very happy. So I'm proud of that video for that reason as well. Sorry, I got way fucking sidetracked there. Trying to focus on the tokusatsu video here. For that video, it was just like a lot of Google searching stuff. Like I will say, I think it's become a little bit of a taboo at this point, unnecessarily, to use sources that you've discovered through seeing what Wikipedia is sourcing. Your judgment in the veracity of those sources is more important to me than that you found them that way, personally. So that being said, I will often start with who's Wikipedia citing? Do they seem legit? Should I look into this further? What other things is this going to tell me that I should be looking out for informationally? Japanese Wikipedia pages can be very helpful as well, although I find that those almost have a greater problem with accurate or thorough sources, which is, maybe that's not actually accurate, but I feel like I see most Japanese Wikipedia pages about like films or anime, like mostly citing like film marks or all cinema or something. But anyway, I don't think that should be considered a taboo on its face. But especially not as a springboard to find other sources. So that's another thing that I use sometimes. I will poke at friends who have more of an area of expertise. Although usually that's to gauge a sort of anecdotal, sort of like zeitgeist opinion of something rather than trying to learn hard facts. Unless it's, hey, let me point you in this direction, or hey, here's this article. It really varies. What do you think are some of the cutest or best anime mascot characters? My favorite Sanrio character is Chippy Mouse. I think Chippy Mouse is adorable. I gotta give it to my man Pikachu. That's a very obvious one. But he's number one for a reason, man. Looking around my room for inspiration, because like I've said in the past, I have difficulty recounting these things offhand. Not anime, but Snoopy. I mean, he's seeing a renaissance right now, but he will always be my hometown king. I don't know if you would consider it a mascot, but I love the imp in Dragon Quest. Honestly, the slime in Dragon Quest is fucking great. Great goddamn design. The Flatwoods monster. I'm straying from the point here. I'm sorry. If I think of any more while I'm recording, I'll shout them out suddenly. Do you have any big passion project you've always wanted to do? Like, if you had an unlimited budget, what would you make? A movie? Something music related? Also related bonus question, what's your favorite artistic medium to work in? I think it's been made pretty clear at this point that I managed to swing that on a limited budget. I made a movie. And I think that this kind of question is funny for me because budget is almost a challenge for me. It was a fun challenge to make the film that May and I made on as little money as possible. So having to think of something that actually would be financially prohibitive is a little bit of a different story. I've certainly had film ideas that I know for a fact I would not want to do without a substantial budget, but I also don't think I want to work within a system that necessitates those kinds of budgets. I want this to be fun for me first and foremost. As far as things that are music related, how about this? My big passion project is I want a pedal steel guitar, not a lap steel, a pedal steel, the kind that you have to order to be made for you. And I would like to play that instrument well. So that's mine. As far as my favorite artistic medium to work in, though, it honestly varies. I sway a lot on what I like working on most. I'm having fun with videos right now. Working on that film felt really, really right in a lot of ways, but the production has been very difficult circumstantially. So I feel like the jury's still a little bit out on that one. I love that film very deeply though. And I think the final product will be the best thing that I've ever made. Yeah, I mean, music goes from feeling impossible and so frustrating for me to the most natural thing in the world, totally without me being able to control it. So, yeah, I'd say that I vary pretty heavily. Do you ever find something you would want to discuss, but haven't found a good way to work it into a video topic yet? All the time. That's happening to me all the time. And a lot of times I'm trying to work things in and then recognizing, oh, this isn't working here. I should save it for something else. It's just kind of incentive to keep working on things and hope that eventually you'll find a good avenue to talk about it. You've probably heard me in a couple of videos say something to the effect of, I have been waiting to say this, or I have been waiting to talk about this since I started the channel, or whatever. There are plenty more like that. In fact, like I mentioned in the video that is going up today or whenever, I was able to repurpose a video of mine that a video topic of mine that I've always been really interested in and that I did a lot of research on. I was able to reformat that from a video that would have had a scope way too big for me to want to commit to as somebody who's not an expert, into a spotlighted Scarecrow that is way, 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 way more manageable. So I feel good about that. And I'm looking forward to having more opportunities to do things like that. And frankly, I will say, working in film, working in fiction is, and honestly, music as well, is a really good way. Oh my God. Is a really good way to work out some of those things that you want to talk about in a way that you have a little bit more leeway to. Without needing to be an expert, without saying anything very definitive. You can kind of work out those thoughts and feelings and those influences and come out the other side feeling kind of like, all right, cool. I've said my piece. But ideas are recurring. Thoughts and feelings about art is recurring. And you never know how something might manifest itself again later on. So I feel like, you don't necessarily blow your load too early doing it that way, or talking about something when it feels like it's really speaking to you. Any thoughts on good beginner visual novels? In the question, they specified that they had already read Doki Doki Literature Club, and a friend was trying to get them to play Fate. I would say right now, anything super long, if you're asking for beginner visual novels, anything super long, I think, will wind up filtering you unless you get really, oh my god, really, really drawn into it. For me, I played Tsukihime out of a sense of obligation and a sense of morbid curiosity. And I had the fun kind of bad time with it. So I feel like I'm not a good arbiter for this sort of thing. It wasn't my first big visual novel or anything. I would say Narcissus. I think it's usually stylized as Narcissu. Narcissu is one that I read in a sitting that I thought was very short and sweet and effective. And yeah, I don't know, just kind of nice. I found it very... I mean, it's about very heavy themes, but I found it quaint and interesting. In a way that it's got that kind of like, I don't know, like quiet, kind of understated magnetism for me. So I would say that one. And gosh, I feel like some adventure games would be really good if more of them were translated, like Kamaitachi no Yoru and fuck, what's the other Super Nintendo Chunsoft sound novel called? I'm fucking rusty, dude. What is that called? Otogiriso. I wish some of those were translated. And gosh, I wish Alyssa was here for this. There are also a lot of good otome if you are interested in heterosexual boys and men. But that's not my lane, so. Have you ever unexpectedly run into a creator of something you like and gotten a peek behind the scenes? I hate to set an example because I think I got very lucky. At a time, especially, where scope was smaller, like sort of in the same way that budgetary scope doesn't preclude me from very much. All of my biggest either influences or just creators who made something that I really like and really covet. I kind of have interacted with them in some way, or even became close to them. This is not your green light to try to fucking buddy up to Joe whoever. But you know, I would consider a lot of my close friends still big inspirations to me. And getting a peek behind the curtain for everything that my friends are doing is very, very important to me. But, you know, beyond friends, I've also got acquaintances where this has happened. And I find it very flattering to get to see anything, like any part of how the sausage is made. My life has also put me in strange positions at times to get a peek behind the scenes in things that I'm not necessarily invested in. I know a lot about the inner workings of the YouTube storytime animator ecosystem, how people kind of earn their keep on there, because Alyssa worked for one for a long time. And I also worked with him a couple of times. So, you know, stuff like that just kind of comes up. Even the fact that Alyssa went to art school and knows a bunch of art school people. I've learned a lot about the kind of inner politics of art schools. They're not worth it. And I don't know if she would want me to say that. I don't think college is worth it. Unless you're trying to be a doctor. I'm sorry, I'm being flippant for no reason. not only did I learn a lot about the ecosystem of the art school, I know a lot about the American animation industry. Just through sort of passive absorption and being invested in this sort of thing. Um, yeah, sorry. I kind of got on a tangent there. Hopefully I answered your question. How did you learn to master your own music? Did you master this upcoming release as well? I assume that upcoming means the EP that I put out, the Smiling Broadly EP. And quite honestly, my friend Tim Lindsay, who I ran Pop Spirit with, taught me the kind of like ground level, like roots, the foundation of everything that I know now. Just a lot of friends who were very patient in teaching me things. Working in audio is really fucking confusing and really fucking overwhelming. And I feel like I've been mastering my own releases since Touched or Been Touched By, and I've done some mastering for some other friends' records in the meantime. Every project is a little bit of trial and error. I'm proud of how the releases that I've mastered sound, for the most part anyway. I think there's some really obvious twisting the metering knobs on the gain on my giant compilation, but it's also like 8 hours long, so can you blame me? I'm proud of how all of those sound, but each one I've since come away from being like, yeah, I don't think I would do that exact same way again. I mean, except for the album that I finished very recently, I took a very, very simple, very dry, very light-handed approach to it, which I've been increasingly doing. And that feels the most right for me, kind of taking that like, get as much of it right in the mastering process as you can so you can mostly focus on limiting it and leveling it right, kind of approach to mastering. So, you know, you try to get it as right as you can in the recording stage, and then you shape it up in the mixing stage, and then you just kind of tie the bow on it in the mastering stage. Is generally the conventional wisdom, but obviously we're all making our records on computers now, so that does kind of change the format, like not in studios. We're getting it right, and the recording is harder. But that's generally the mindset I try to follow at this point. But again, there are fun exceptions. Touched or Been Touched By, the majority of that record's sound was done in the master because I wanted to keep the mixes clean enough at a baseline that I could figure out the right way to kind of fuck them up. So, yeah. I know Son Goku Turb has been shown and mentioned offhand a couple times on your channel. Do you have any particular thoughts about it? No! I think it's very cool and very weird and very cute, but I've got no interest in playing it. And I honestly I haven't thought about it in a while. It's kind of a passing fascination between myself and a friend. I absolutely love when you show your shelves and organization or collections on video. Do you have any particular aesthetic inspiration for how it's all arranged? Fucking Ray William Johnson, baby. I'm kidding. Honestly, I think it all comes back to the nerd room. I think that the AVGN basement is kind of a touchstone. I feel like I could see that place to perfect detail in my mind's eye. And I really I feel very, very, very strongly about cultivating the space that I'm in. I have a room to myself now, which I only bring up because it's in the video that went up today, and also because I don't know, I mean, it ties in here. Layouts for me, first and foremost. It's how I like it and what kind of speaks to me and makes sense. And sometimes that's more organization driven, and other times it is sort of image driven. Um, like, I don't know, my shelves, a lot of it is just trying to get stuff to fit in the allotted spaces that I have. And occasionally I'll sort of face something forward for emphasis, especially if I'm shooting something, or if I just want to look at it, you know, glance over from my bed and see it on my shelf and go, oh wow, that's a copy of Mother 1 and 2 on GVA. Or, oh wow, that's, oh god, I'm running out of room on this shelf. That's like the only thing that's faced out right now. That's okay. I do also think that there's room for comedy in doing it that way. I've got all of The Sopranos on DVD. Who knows how I'll incorporate that into the set, but I'm try. I'm being sort of vague about something that I think contextualizes this question in a fun way for that big video that I put out today. I'm gonna say today. It's gonna come out the same day as that video. This is gonna come out the same day as that video. I've decided. I was wondering what some of your favorite shot on digital films are overall, and what are some of your favorites just for the way that they look, as in not great films but are aesthetically great. Those Toku ones feel like really defining examples. For the look being the primary point of appeal for me. As far as favorite shot on digital films, honestly, fucking Inland Empire. I adore that film. I recently watched Pieces of April on a whim because it had a Stephen Merritt soundtrack, guy from the Magnetic Fields. What a lovely movie that is. Shot on video, shot on two DSR PD 150s, like it's fucking Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's another one. I love the way that show is shot. I would love to figure out some kind of 2-camera setup eventually for shooting that sort of thing. Other ones, honestly, a lot of it is just like fucking gross pervert shit. I think it's been pretty well established at this point that that kind of thing does just take on its own atmosphere when it's shot digitally. But I'm keeping those movies in my back pocket, man. I don't need to introduce that here, man. I don't need to shit where I eat. It's for another time. Have you looked into tokusatsu outside of Japan? What I am intensely familiar with is Zaido the Space Sheriff, which briefly aired in the Philippines around 2008. No, but that sounds fucking awesome. I would love to know more about that sort of thing, and I would love to see somebody with some background and some expertise on that stuff to cover it in a video. Somebody should do that and send it to me, because I want to see it. It sounds very interesting. As very online people, or I guess as a very online person, any advice on cultivating social media to make it not a miserable experience? Don't go on it. Don't look. I like Instagram because I follow like local theaters and venues and my friends, and a Twitter account that posts a lot of pictures of a very cute Pikachu plush. Feel no obligation to follow people whose feeds make you upset. If they can't hang with the fact that you don't follow them but still hold them in some kind of regard, I think that's on them. I think that's a kind of a point of immaturity, even. I don't know. Like, I don't think there's a way to win. Get really good at blinding your eye to advertisements. Recognize that everything that's getting served up on your feed is either slop or bait, and don't fall for it. Unless a quote retweet starts with the words, "This is awesome," just don't read it. Don't engage with the bullshit that's there to make you mad, to make you engaged. Stop giving fucking J.K. Rowling attention. You know what I mean? There's a terrible feedback loop that I think is part of what makes social media so painful. And I think that exact feedback loop is what makes them remotely lucrative as businesses, even though I don't think any social media site even really is, outside of their other like insane evil endeavors. Just log off. Get like 3 Discord servers that have like 15 people each in it. That's my advice. You'll be okay. Have some people that know to send you the things that you're missing by not being online. You know, my friends are going to make sure that I don't miss out on the regional Miku, sort of Hetalia, modern day Miku Hetalia trend. And I'm thrilled to know about that. That's my interaction with Twitter for the month. Just curious how you choose which songs to use for a video. I'm very picky, but it's very, I know it when I hear it. Every now and again in a script, I'll think, this is the perfect song for this situation, especially the funnier ones. There's a certain range of songs that I use when I am either explaining something very complicated or transgressive, and I want to punctuate it with some amount of irony. The Able Sisters theme, the like Lucky Star guitar song, there are songs that I sort of use in almost like a reified way. I'm trying to get them to communicate something to an audience, but most of the time it's just what appeals to me and what feels right. Did you grow up watching Power Rangers? Also, do you have any interest in monster tokusatsu like Godzilla? I didn't really grow up with Power Rangers. I had a cousin who did, an older cousin. Also, to answer the second part of that question, I like Godzilla. He's my friend. I feel like at a certain point I just had to admit that tokusatsu in general is just kind of not my lane. I like engaging with it in the very specific way that I do. And that's kind of all I feel I need. So, yeah, I mean, generally I just like VFX. I really like traditional in-camera effects. And tokusatsu is a good conduit for that. So, I always enjoy that in it. Not sure really whether this is the right place or question for this, but is there any chance if I ask politely that I could get that edit you have of David Cage's angriest dog in the world? I gotta be real. I don't fucking remember that at all. It's very possible that I made that in Photoshop, in Premiere, and therefore don't have a file for it. I keep all of my files for all of my videos on an external drive. So if I open that thing up when I'm working on a video or whatever, and if I come across it between now and when this goes live, sure, buddy, I'll drop an image or link. But I can't make any promises, and you might just need to remake it yourself, which honestly would probably be faster for both of us. How was the filming for this video on that camcorder? Any particular challenges you didn't expect, or was it similar enough to your usual setup? I talked about it a little bit earlier, but just to kind of address those extra parts of the question, I don't think I'll do the CRT thing again. I enjoyed doing it that one time, but I think I just want to take the PD-150 straight in the video. Especially because I'm shooting, or I'm editing mostly in 4:3 now. Just kind of makes it easier. Part of why I shot the CRT last time was so that I could have it sitting in a 16:9 frame. But most of the stuff I talk about is in 4:3, so I feel like I should oblige that. All right, I'm just gonna fucking dive right into the Pokemon Places one. For a split second, I was thinking about doing that tomorrow, but I'm just gonna fucking rip into it, man. What is the extent of your relationship with Shin Megami Tensei? I feel like whenever I bring this sort of thing up, the room goes cold. I mean this in a pretty, like, placid kind of, like, you know, objective, it's life, it just happens man way. So you don't need to, like, feel like you've triggered a landmine or anything. The extent of my relationship with Shin Megami Tensei is that it was really fun to talk about with my dead best friend. Because they really clicked with that sort of thing and I didn't. I'm very interested in Shin Megami Tensei from afar. I think people calling it Pokemon for adults are fucking idiots. I think that's such an annoying fucking thing to say. But yeah, I don't know, just not my kind of game. Every time I get dropped back into the overworld, I forget what direction I'm facing. Are there any environments, areas, or places you'd like to see rendered inside Pokemon? I mean, on a personal level, I think I've mentioned it before, but I would love to see Guyana, see them finally go back to that bizarre, like, canonical flavor text about Mew. Why Guyana? I have to know. Like, what made Game Freak choose Guyana? Like, I think I've checked. It's not a localization thing. The Japanese text says Guyana. My grandmother's from Guyana. And I want to see how they render the evil post-colonial convents there. Yeah. I mean, aside from that, I think basically, like, most places seem really interesting. And they've done the ones that I think I found the most kind of like bland or safe or kind of like generic. So it feels like fair game. I'm excited to see where's next. Is it too personal a question to ask what each of your orders are? Sorry, some of these are worded under the pretense that Alyssa and I still do these together. I love her very much, and so I'm choosing not to subject her to this. I didn't rewrite all of the questions to reflect that. Is it too personal a question to ask what each of your orders are? As a fellow black bean quesarito enjoyer, I was heartbroken when they took it off the menu. I can answer for both Alyssa and I, especially because we ordered Taco Bell together like 2 nights ago. Don't worry about it. At this point, because it's not practical for us to go there in person, when we splurge for Taco Bell, I'm going to tell you this right now, chat. $6 for 4 items. In this economy, you got to get the app. You got to let that fucker sell all your goddamn data, man. That's an app exclusive. And it gets you so much food. You get a drink. Large drink is only 10 cents more than a medium drink. And then you get a couple of different things to choose from therein. I imagine it's probably best, or maybe not, I don't know. I've only had the veggie craving boxes. And those are a smash every time. I get those goddamn potatoes that come in that goddamn bowl. I get the bean and rice, bean and cheese burrito, whatever. Sometimes I go for the quesadilla. Sometimes I go for the chalupa. Sometimes I go for the crunch wrap. I mix it up. I think I'm honestly, I think that the nacho fries are a little overrated, I've come to find. Or maybe they just don't sort of spark the same joy for me that they used to. Alyssa's order is very similar, except she usually gets the chalupa with the black beans subbed out for refried beans. So that's my answer. Hey, I noticed you have some Japanese versions of some Pokemon games. Is there a benefit for having both? They're cheaper. It's kind of a fun novelty factor. I would love to own more non-English language games. I would love, yeah, just all manner, because those games got localized in so many regions. I think that's compelling and interesting. And also occasionally there are some external benefits. Certain games have compatibility with certain altered versions of other spin-off games and stuff like that. But mostly I just think it's kind of fun. And they're way cheaper. Did I say that? They're so much fucking cheaper. If you could choose between having a Pokemon of your choice be real and also your pet or friend, or bringing an actual pet of yours back from the past to life... Sorry, from the past back to life, which would you pick? This is a crazy morbid question. I don't really want either, is the thing, you know. That animal's dead. That's natural course. That's okay. I don't need to interfere with that to get Mary, my childhood dog that my mother named after a misheard Nirvana lyric, uh, back to life. You know, I don't think she needs a second run. She did fine in her first life. As far as Pokemon, they're all kind of scary, aren't they? Like, what, I'm gonna say I won't fur it because it won't break my items, the objects in my home. Uh, you know, if Oddish was real, I would be taking a nice little walk in the forest and I would trip and fall because it would pop out of the ground and maybe I'd like roll down a hill or something and get very injured. Uh, like Wooloo is safe. Wooloo is safe. That's a safe one. You know, I love Mareep more, but I do have to recognize that it's statically charged and it would probably wipe all of the contents of all of my hard drives and that would be bad. So yeah, I don't know, man. That feels like the safe answer. Maybe fucking there's no regular dog except for the ones that I don't like. Skitty? Skitty's a good one. Skitty's very cute. Um and its evolution is very cute too. Sort of like you get a cat and then you get like a Great Dane later on in its life. That seems fun, you know. Uh Little kitty cat curled up in your lap or on top of your head. Uh and then it's a big old Great Dane cat sleeping at the foot of your bed. It's great. You know, you probably wouldn't even need to take it on walks. Are there any series that you have experienced primarily through your periphery that have nonetheless created lasting impacts on you? Yes, absolutely, all the time. And I think I either keep it a little close to the chest, keep it a little close to the chest that I don't actually have a lot of experience with that stuff, or my peripheral connection to it is enjoying hearing a friend of mine talk about it very much. Have you considered replacing the internal batteries on your Game Boy Pokemon games? Definitely, absolutely, yes. It's something I've been meaning to do since I fucking made that video. I know that Pink Gorilla, Seattle's Pink Gorilla, will do that for like $5 a cartridge. I'm scared of soldering, so I will probably just do that. Have you watched any of the Pokemon anime outside of when you were a kid? No, I haven't. I heard that the Alola one was very cute. Children's anime is long. Serialized children's television. It's a lot of episodes. It's long. I'm okay. Every now and again, I revisit the original series. After Rachel Lillis tragically died, I popped in a VHS tape that I have of the Mountain Moon episode, and I watched that. And yeah, that's kind of the, you know, every now and again I just get the itch or something, and I'll watch an episode, but that's about it. Question is, what counts as some guilty pleasures for you in media, and what sets it apart from other things you like that make it guilty? I don't have anything left to hide. So I don't really feel guilty about any of the things I like anymore. I'm on record as somebody that really likes pink films, which are a highly transgressive genre of Japanese softcore pornography that happens to have a lot of like radical politics and just like weird experimental filmmaking and stuff in them. But you need to not only sit through like a lot of people having sex, it's always boring, and then the sort of walk of shame of logging a movie called I Love It From Behind on your Letterboxd. You do that enough times and it's like, I can just own this. It's okay. I can own this. I think the closest thing that makes me feel guilty is when I know that a work is contentious because of the person who made it. And even there, it manifests in a very particular way. I have a very specific relationship to media that is very dicey and made by very dicey people. But delivering that opinion to the kind of public forum, I don't necessarily want to be a dissenting voice when conversations are very singular and personal. I think that especially because talking about media is a profession, it's very easy to feel like your reaction to something is sort of like tacitly linked to your sort of like moral code of conduct for art in a way that feels very just sort of like weighty in a way that it doesn't need to be. I know what I get out of these films. I know what I get out of, music, books, whatever, that are controversial in all of these ways. I don't need to tout that stuff. So I just kind of don't talk about them. And that also kind of keeps me from feeling guilty. Or rather, I don't talk about them in a public stage. Unless I kind of feel like I know the audience that I'm speaking to. So, yeah. As someone who has, it is so goddamn fucking embarrassing to talk about anime for a living. So I feel like additionally, that it's kind of killed my ability to feel that way. As someone who has never played a Pokemon game but would like to, which games would you recommend that I play? Did you ever watch the OG anime that played on 4Kids? Wait until the next mainline game, skip ZA or whatever, and buy the next mainline game, whatever we call Generation 10. Buy it when it comes out. If you've got friends that are playing it, especially, play it blind, and just really have that kind of experience with it. I found that was very important to me, connecting with the game that I had a lot of reservations about. Was just kind of being a part of that conversation, being a part of that excitement. I think the games still do a very good job of, even though, like, I think they recognized early on that trading is not an incentive to interact with other players. And I think they've built in a lot of very good ways to make it very fun to play with other people. And that's harder to do when a game is a couple years old or like 20 years old. So that's what I would recommend. I don't think that there's a definitive Pokemon game. The definitive Pokemon game is just whichever one you feel like you got the most out of. And that's a call you can really only make if you are a lunatic or grew up at the start of the franchise and never fell off of it, both of which are true of me. I'm sorry. They also asked, did you ever watch the OG anime that played on 4Kids? Yes. A lot of it. The Orange Islands arc, I was very, very drawn to because I loved that it was outside of the rules of the video game. My question is, if you've played any other Game Boy Advance games, and if so, what are a few of your favorites? I talked about the Mega Man Legends game earlier. What fucking GBA games do I like? Wander is scratching at my door. I'm going to think about it while I get up. No, he's not. I hallucinated that. Mother 1 and 2 on GBA. I also mentioned that already. I don't know. I mean, the Game Boy Advance is a console I find very interesting for its ubiquity. And for the breadth of stuff that was released on it. And I think a lot of those games look very strange in an interesting way. I think that my friend Thor High Heels' video on the Game Boy Advance is still kind of the definitive statement on what makes that console interesting. Yeah. Without doxing yourself, what are some of your favorite real life smoke spots? No fucking chance, brother. No goddamn chance. Since I moved to a big city, I now understand the LA restaurant gatekeeper. Not because I think I have the sway to make a good spot worse, but when you find a place by exploring or by hearsay in a physical environment, unfortunately, I think I am so predestined to really getting off on having a very unique relationship to something that feels like it's kind of that I can be one of, like, I don't know, a select few who covet it or a select few who sort of understand it. In the most insufferable way, I feel like that extends to a lot of the places I really like to go. There's a particular spot in the city that is I call my favorite place in the city. I mean, publicly, I call Scarecrow my favorite place in the city, and I do love it very much, and I like spending time there. But honestly, my favorite spot in the city is just some fucking place outdoors that I think has a nice view. And that's for me, goddammit. That's my view. I found that by walking around a lot. In Pokemon Y, I had preset outfits that I would wear in different towns to match the weather or vibe better. Did or do you do anything like that? Absolutely. I love doing that sort of thing. I think it's very cute and very fun. Otherwise, I'll just get too attached to one outfit and make it kind of like canon. If Water was a Pokemon, what moves would he have? Stink, shit, kill. I think that he would have Spore. I think that the Wander would have Spore. I think he would have, what's that one? Like, not Attract, like, Cute Look or whatever. Might have some sound type moves. He's constantly Mean Look, as well as cute, whatever. Because he's a very cute cat that looks angry to people. Maybe like Flame Tackle. I don't know. What are some of your favorite smoke spots in other games? Traverse Town. I don't like Kingdom Hearts, but Traverse Town is a great location. Honestly, Destiny Island is as well. Twilight Town as well. I don't know why those are immediate in my mind. A lot of places in, like, I don't know, just like games I don't even really care about, like first person shooters that are really interesting. The seaside town in Nier, the like really overgrown mall in I don't know, I just like overgrown malls. Nier Automata has one, I think. Tokyo Jungle functionally has one. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, always fun. I can't think of any others. I'm sorry. I was wondering if you have a particular roof or roof memory that would stick out as a favorite. We're deep enough in this that I think I can hit you with one that's gonna make you do the Tails Gets Trolled face. And then I'll give you some aftercare. Right after I graduated high school, or actually, no, I'm sorry. It was a little bit before I graduated high school. A friend of mine hit me up and was like, hey, because he and I would just kind of climb school roofs together. It was fun. Interesting views. The tops of roofs look very interesting. And so he hits me up and he's like, hey, I want to go back up on the school roof one more time and to really say fuck you to this school that I had a miserable 4 years at. I'm gonna jack off to completion on top of it. Not like over the side, just like wanted to fucking spread some seed there for some reason. And I decided to tag along. I wasn't gonna watch or anything. But it was such an insane thing to hear that I felt like I just kind of needed to be there, to bear that memory as well. I recall that he told me it was cold, so it was kind of painful. And that's the extent of that story. We wound up meeting up with a guy that someone online had recommended I hang out with because we were in the same area. And I remember I was straight edge at the time, and so was my friend. But this guy did lose like an entire gram of marijuana, I believe, while we were there. Just could not find it after he dropped it while trying to roll a joint. High school's fucking stupid. High school's so fucking stupid. This is a terrible story. This is a terrible memory. So yeah, my other one is there's some friends' apartment roofs that I really, really love. Love spending time up on. Love sharing that time with them. When May and I were apartment hunting for her, I realized that on one of the self-guided tours there was roof access, and we needed a shot from a rooftop in our film Divine Hammer. So we just decided to take some time to shoot while we were up there. Just random roof that we'll never go back to. Yeah. So that's the aftercare. It was a fun experience. Apartment seems terrible. Bunch of fucking glass windows facing the sun. Fuck off. As someone with a good deal of recording experience, was there any gear you wished you had really splurged for or gotten the cheapest version of on the other end? Or more generally, advice you could give for creating a good environment for recording music? Put a bunch of shit up on your walls. Posters, some like sound foam, anime wall scroll, a tapestry, what have you. It both makes your space feel more, I don't know, just like catered to you. And on top of that, it does help if you're in a room that's really reflective. I'm in a room that's really reflective right now, and I'm not done fully setting up the things that will make that setup less reflective. But as far as gear, I don't know, like I said earlier, you can really start with anything, but I think if you're at a point where you want to start spending money on things substantially, I would start with a preamp. They really do just make every microphone sound better. It's crazy. Hi, Hazel. Do you have any general tips for someone trying to compose more dense songs? After I lay down chords, a melody, and drums, I struggle to come up with more variation and layers. Honestly, being indecisive really helps, and hearing a lot of melodies in the kind of parts that you have, and hearing how things interweave, and especially different sections of your songs having different sound palettes, you kind of want to work in ways to make them weave into each other a little bit cleaner. And I feel like that does get me to extend certain instruments over from one section to another, stuff like that. How do you get media footage for your videos? I steal everything. Sometimes I rip DVDs from Scarecrow, I'll be honest. Because the DVDs are higher quality than the rips I'm finding online. Yeah. I get a lot of fucking downloading shit from YouTube. Yeah, and then running everything through Handbrake. It's a miserable, tedious process. I fucking hate it. But there's no other way around it, baby. I'm really indecisive about tattoos, so I was wondering if it was easy or hard for you to decide on your strobe light tattoo. That was the easiest one. It's a matching tattoo with May. My other ones, I sort of took this mindset when I got my first tattoo of, it's okay if I don't relate to this eventually. Because it means enough to me now to get one, and I don't want that. I don't want that part of my history, the me that wanted that tattoo, to be either like erased or sort of regretted. I've taken a much more kind of laissez-faire approach to my body where tattoos are concerned now, though. I've got a couple of different friends that are learning, and I'm just kind of guinea pigging it up. So, in a hypothetical Hazel What's in My Bag episode, what would be some expected and unexpected record picks? I'm a pervert, so I would want to make sure that my choices are as disparate as possible. Get some really conventional stuff, get some really weird stuff, try to find some local shit, get some stuff I've never heard of. You know, I just really sort of throw some curveballs at him. I was wondering what kind of thought process it takes to make lyrics that you like. Going in knowing that I'm not going to show them to anybody really does help. Sometimes it starts from a phrase, sometimes it starts from an idea or a feeling. The record that I have recently finished that will be coming out before the end of 2024, there's not a single song about anything real on that record. Just kind of like images that I felt compelled to, ideas, ways of articulating certain like dynamics and friendships and relationships, you know. It was all very abstract to me. And that distance, I think, helped me as well. So those are some approaches that have worked for me. I also honestly think that at a certain point, you kind of get into the groove where your mind just starts kind of generating things when you're not expecting it. If you've got a song that you really like that you haven't written yet or haven't committed to, just run through it in your head a billion times until words start forming. How do you store and recall all the footage, music, memeage, and media you hang on to and use? A huge NAS, big ol' cloud, and whispers to wander? Just a bunch of external drives. I've got a dock for two either SSDs or HDDs. I've got one SSD and one HDD on there. They're both huge. I have a lot of fucking old video project files on there. I don't know that I've deleted the files to a single video that I've made. At least, I think I might not have the Elfin Lead ones anymore, but I think I've got all the other ones. Because I always wind up wanting something from one of them. I always wind up wanting to go back to something in one of them, and it's way faster to dig them up that way. I should get a NAS, though, honestly. I'm just intimidated by that kind of thing. I don't understand computers. They scare me. But yeah, that's the end of this. Hopefully I answered these okay. I feel like I kind of gotten into the groove at a certain point, and I had fun answering them. Yeah, the decision for future ones of these are going to be up in the air. The creepypasta one that should be going up in some proximity to this will be recorded by the time that this comes out. So when I hear what people think of this, I will structure the next couple around that. So yeah, thanks for listening.